Listen, I could go into this whole intro about Bionicle and how it needs a TV show, but the recent news basically negated the need for it. My name is Kahi, and welcome to the Top 10 Bionicle Netflix Hype. This is all the stuff we want to see from the currently 4-episode miniseries going to Netflix next year. Number 10, Okoto Beauty / Fauna. While it does kind of tie into straight up world building, there's something to be said about constructing just a beautiful backdrop for the show to take place in. The original island of Motunui had tons of beauty and creativity in its landscape, and fauna. And right now is the perfect place to showcase Okoto's own natural beauty, and to actually make us care about the island that's being ravaged by Makuta's plans. Ideally, we'd see some really bold colors, some really alien-like landscapes, some things that just make the island really stand out in our minds. There's a lot of creativity you can have, and some of the concept art that's been released so far seems to show it. We just need to see it beyond concept art and in the actual story product. Number 9. Fight scenes. I'm a sucker for good fight scenes. I love kung fu movies, I love crazy action and choreography. Good choreography doesn't have to be limited to a movie budget either. We've seen some great stuff from kids shows like Avatar: The Last Airbender and Legend of Korra. Yeah, even internet web series I've seen some great stuff. I mean, look at RWBY, which has the king of insane fighting himself, Mani Ohm, animating all sorts of crazy action. Bionicle has always seemed a great place to see some crazy action. I mean, you have robots with elemental powers, and that's a goldmine for creative choreography and amazing action scenes. But we've never really seen anything impressive from it. It would be a shame for this new series not to take a page from Avatar's book and make something memorable for us to watch and marvel at. Netflix has already made waves of Daredevil's actions, and maybe we can see some of that trickle down to Bionicle as well. Number 8. Good voice actors. Good voice actors can make or break a production. Bionicle has seen some good ones in the past, and even some celebrity names have graced the toy line's presence. I'm perfectly fine if I'm going with a lesser-known voice actor who can still bring an equally good performance. But hey, guy can dream, right? Number 7. Animation style. Bionicle's seen a variety of animation styles over the years. The Bork animations by Templar Studios were done in 2D Flash, but were incredibly set accurate. The original trilogy of movies by Miramax are more stylized, and took a bit of departure from the sets. The commercials by Ghost were, on the flip side, completely set accurate, and The Legend Reborn by Threshold Entertainment sought a bit of a compromise between the two. The latest incarnation, 2015's web animations, were very stylized 2D, and from the promotional art given out by Netflix, the new Bionicle show might have a cel-shaded 3D appearance. All that to say that good art direction and good art style are paramount for the series, no matter what it will be. Everybody has their individual favorites, but most people tend to gravitate towards either style or set accuracy. Speaking as a fan myself, I've always been a fan of Ghost, but I've also really enjoyed the new web animation style, and I enjoy how that's done. I like the image we've been shown as the concept art for the Netflix show, and hopefully it will be executed really well. Number 6. New characters. One of the big hindrances to Bionicle's launch in 2015 was the inclusion of only one new named character, Ikimu. Everyone else was already established character in the previous canon, and all the protectors themselves didn't have any names to identify themselves with. That all changed with writer Winham, who gave all the protectors names in Island of the Lost Masks, but I still feel like there's somewhere to go with the characters. With the Motunui online game, you were treated to a host of new characters with different personalities, and those characters were what drove that first year. Having those maturing characters really helped with the world building, and it also gave the fan base more to work with. I would like to see more characters with different masks as well. I really like the Protector mask has been previously seen to be worn in all of the villagers, but to me it takes away an important part of that villager's identity and individuality. More uniquely designed villager characters would be a godsend, and something I really do want to see in a TV show. Number 5. World building. Part of Motunui's charm was the amount of world building the show was able to do. World building and plot are important because when you have a fantasy world, you need to be able to tell and show how that world functions, and how it differs from the world that we're used to. World building is all about what the characters would consider mundane. It's their daily lives, their jobs, their culture, their rules, their laws, the entire system of their civilization. Good world building helps the plot along because it gives a backdrop for the plot to stand out against. It's only through establishing the ordinary can you really start to introduce the extraordinary, the plot. As long as the show actually shows us the world instead of telling us about the world, Okoto can be as vibrant and as real as the island of Madanui was to the fans of the original Mataverse. Number 4. Good villain. It's hard to pinpoint what actually makes a good villain, because there are some fantastic examples of all sorts of villains. Sympathetic villains, cruel villains, redeemable villains, irredeemable villains. All of them can really work if approached the right way. A common misconception is that a bad villain is a villain who's written to be evil just for the sake of being evil. But that isn't exactly true. Truly evil villains can be as effective, entertaining, and well written as any other sort of villain. Just look at like the Joker, for example, who has seen really good incarnations and really terrible incarnations. Personally, I've always been a fan of villains who have a good point. I feel like it gives the main characters a real moral dilemma, and the audience as well, which usually leads to a more complex plot, character motivation, and resolution. But whatever approach is taken, my only real request is that the villain be smart about it. I hate seeing stupid villains in media, and having the heroes defeat them based on their stupidity is so much less rewarding for me. Having the villain be smart poses an actual challenge for our heroes, and a rewarding solution when he's eventually outsmarted. As long as all of his actions make sense and he isn't holding to some sort of idiot ball so that our heroes can defeat him, I'll be satisfied. But crafting a villain with a complex motivation, character, and entertaining personality would be an absolute dream for me to see on screen in the Bionicle show. Number 3. Character arcs and interaction. The characters are the absolute bread and butter of the show, and even with a good plot, you can't have an enjoyable series without characters that you want to watch. It's even more compounded because you're dealing with the original Toa Mata, the 6 heroes that almost every Bionicle fan grew up with. These characters have to be written distinctly, they have to go through arcs, and it's hard to do that with 6 main characters and a limited running time. But there is room to make sure these characters have layers beyond their normal traits. Good characters go a long way into making the audience care about the story. If you can make the audience care about your characters from the get-go, interaction's the best way to do that, and you can immediately start with the sympathy and empathy for the audience, especially when you only have 4 episodes to tell your story. Number 2, solid plot and writing. Alright, I know, this is always much easier said than done. I don't pretend to know everything there is about making a good story, but what I can say as a consumer of entertainment is that having a multi-layered story is what makes a kid's show for me. Young Justice, Spectacular Spider-Man, Avatar: Last Airbender, and even Bionicle in the books and serials had a good, complex, overarching plot with a lot of smart twists and turns in the series that made it really enjoyable. I realize that this is a kid's show, and the 4-episode kid's show is that, but it doesn't mean the plot has to be overly simplistic. Sometimes good world building and action can make up for not really having a great plot. Mad Max Fury Road is probably the most recent example of this that comes to mind. That movie's still enjoyable even though the plot is really simplistic because of the style and the world building and the visual representation of that world that we're able to see. I really enjoy being there, and the fact that the plot doesn't really have anything doesn't matter as much to me. But overall, Bionicle's story has traditionally not shied away from being more complex. And it's far more complex than, say, the Hero Factory TV episodes. LEGO has already seen the success of an overarching plot with Ninjago, and that's paid off for them tremendously, in a way that I don't think would have happened if the TV show hadn't come out. Not trying to do the same with Bionicle would be a disservice to the fans, and just an underutilization of the franchise that they own. Bionicle has a huge amount of potential. Please don't waste that by trying to make a mediocre product. And the number one thing we want to see from a Bionicle show is have LJ as the voice actor for Toroliwa. Wait, what? Are you kidding me? Who writes this garbage? No, I'm kidding. The real number one is adult-friendly, kid-approved. Okay, alright. Hold up. I know how it sounds. Just hear me out for a second. I realize that LEGO's audience is kids who will buy their toys. I realize that 100%. I am not saying that should necessarily change, and they should not primarily market to kids. What I am saying, however, is that they need to change what they consider to be kid-friendly. See, as kids grow older, they tend to gravitate towards quality content. It's not that the content isn't aimed at them, it's that they're friendly and entertaining and smart towards an older audience as well. Anyone who's watched Avatar: The Last Airbender cannot deny it's a kids show aimed at kids. It's very much that. But it was a smart show, and it gained such a big demographic with teens, young adults, and parents so that it became critically acclaimed all over. And that wasn't just a fluke trend with one show. Animated shows nowadays are becoming smarter and more critically acclaimed than ever, and that shows in the amount of fandom support it has. I mean, Adventure Time, Steven Universe, Gravity Falls, The Legend of Korra, these are all shows that appeal to a larger audience, an older audience, and ones that are popular with that older audience. They talk about it on fan blogs, they do art pieces and fan fiction, and they keep that brand alive and going. And the thing is, the older audiences, they're the ones with the money. And sure, LEGO is primarily a toy production company, and viewership might not always translate into more toy sales. But just look at My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic. It's a show that nobody would have ever thought would have a huge male viewership demographic. How many toy ponies have been brought by bronies who would have never considered that purchase if the show wasn't as sharply written as it was? In fact, part of the huge boom and success of the LEGO movie was precisely because it was a smartly written movie that adults could get into. It performed way beyond LEGO's expectations and led to a huge selling of merchandise, one that propelled LEGO to be the largest toy company just last year. So appealing to this older fan base helps both the longevity of the line and the sales of the toys. Again, it doesn't mean you have to stop marketing towards kids, it just means that you have to stop underestimating them. Kids will always gravitate upwards towards more complex storytelling content. The same will not work in the other direction. There's a reason why Teen Titans is revered by both kids and adults, but Teen Titans Go has not seen anywhere near the amount of fandom support. In conclusion, I'm beyond excited for a Bionicle TV show, especially one that's available on Netflix online. I feel like there's a future of content, it's a future of media, and that's where kids go to watch their content from now on. They don't go to watch TV, they don't go and sit around and wait for the show to come on. They go on Netflix, and they make sure that the show's there when they want to watch it. For parents, that's a great thing too. When they want their kids to kill a couple hours, they can put them in front of Netflix, give them a kid's account, and they know that they're not going to see anything objectionable. But I'm also a huge fan of Bionicle. The potential Bionicle has never really been conveyed in a visual media before, and right now is the best time to do it. Honestly, if done right, I feel that Bionicle could be synonymous with The Last Airbender in terms of storytelling quality. It has all of the ingredients necessary for the dish to be there. It just needs the right chefs to come along and make a 5-course meal out of it. Now, the chance has appeared again for LEGO to make Bionicle great, and this is the chance they have to push it back into the public consciousness again. I know, I've hit it before myself. LEGO doesn't sell stories, they sell toys. But you know who sells stories? Netflix. And that was the top 10 things you want to see from a Bionicle TV show. Did you disagree with something I said? Or have your own order of things you want to see? Put your own list in the comments below or at our message boards at boards.ttvchannel.com. My name is Kahi, and thanks for watching this. I hope to see you guys again next week.